My name is David Duffy. I'm a retired physician sharing my thoughts about healing. This is the 11th presentation, and we're going to talk about the chemistry of one's diet. It's called isotonic diet, and I'll explain that as we go along. When you take a shower, you adjust the water temperature so it's just right. Not too hot, not too cold. That illustrates a basic principle of biology. To live, the body must maintain homeostasis, keeping the status of the cell constant, the same. If you analyze living tissue, the salt level needs to be protected. In the body, enzymes pump sodium out of the cell and potassium into the cell so that there's a proper electrical balance. There needs to be the right amount of water. There needs to be the right amount of oxygen. It needs to have the right amount of acid. In order to do that, there is an intricate system of regulation in the body. In the brain, there is a mechanism of measuring the concentration of the salt. It tells you, it monitors the acid level, the pH of the blood, and it will adjust your breathing rate to keep in balance. It regulates the amount of sugar in the blood, and so forth. Now, if you are in the desert and you become very thirsty and you have lacked water for a long time and you're sweating a lot, you're going to be dehydrated and the amount of salt in your body will be too high. The concentration will be too high. That is called hypertonic. And your body gives a signal because you feel thirsty and you drink water to bring the salt level down to the right level, called isotonic, the same concentration, isotonic. Sometimes people drink too much water. They flood their systems with water and the salt level goes down. And if it goes down too low, you can lose consciousness and faint and get dizzy and things like that. That's called hypotonic, low, below the right concentration. Okay, now 100 years ago on the farm, what was the typical diet? They had the cow's milk, they would kill a chicken or have beef and chicken as their meat. They grew their potatoes, they had their lettuce and tomatoes and other vegetables, and they had living food freshly prepared to sustain their life. They ate what they grew or what they could get shared with other farmers, and life was simple, basic, and they did well in that diet. However, nowadays, we have much more prepared food, and we have an abundance of many things. And a typical diet, let's say I have a fast food lunch. cheeseburgers, French fries, and a Coke. Okay. We have pizza, we have coffee and donuts, those kind of things. And we're having food that is very concentrated, very cooked, very processed. And when we eat concentrated food, our body absorbs it, and it's too concentrated for our blood, and it needs more liquid. So when you go to a bar and they want you to buy drinks, they're going to give you pretzels and potato chips, which is going to make you thirsty. Well, you go to the restaurant or you have a pizza or whatever, and you get thirsty and you drink. So we're having high concentrated food on one hand and then adding a lot of liquid to compensate it. Okay, now, if you go out to eat once in a while and have a big meal with the appetizer and the main course and the cheesecake at the end, whatever, you overeat. It's over concentrated. You gain weight. You have a couple pounds of water extra in your body. You can get rid of that in a couple days. But what happens if you do that every day? What happens if you're eating out and you're doing this? Your body will get used to a chronic imbalance. You will have extra salt. You will have an extra load of spices and weight and grease and things like that. Your body accommodates you. It's very accommodating. But it throws you off. And as a result, from a quote, normal American diet, you become overweight, you develop high blood pressure, and perhaps other things, right? We inadvertently or with ignorance are having diets that put a burden on the body. When you have too much salt in your diet, your kidney has to get rid of it. When you have too much sugar, it has to be processed. When it has too much oil, grease, has to be processed. And the two organs, well, actually 3 organs that handle this excess are the liver, the kidneys, and the lungs. The liver metabolizes things. It absorbs the grease. It takes the protein. It takes the sugar, and that's the factory that kind of switches around and makes things ready to be excreted in the bile and back into the intestines. So it has to do the work. The kidneys are going to have to process all that protein and get rid of the abundance of ammonia, phosphorus, and urea. Okay. We're looking for a change in our health so that we can get back to a normal metabolism and an ideal weight. Okay, so now it does make sense to begin to eat foods that are closer to your own metabolism. Instead of having heavy doses of highly concentrated, spicy, salty foods, what happens if you have a lot of steamed vegetables and raw vegetables, salad and vegetables, fruit, okay? The fruit like cutting up pineapple or blueberries rather than apple pie and blueberry pie. Instead of using the fruit as a flavor to mix with huge amounts of sugar and things like that, we needed to use it as a food. Animals in nature have certain foods that they can eat on a regular basis. And when the crop, certain birds will eat the oats and the wheat and the berries and our food supply is not as varied as restaurants. And if we want to get closer to nature and eat an isotonic diet, we need to simplify our diet, have more food that is unprocessed or minimally processed, and eat in sufficient amounts for nutrition. It is true that you can get by on a very concentrated amount of food, but that doesn't have the roughage, that doesn't have the fiber, that doesn't have the liquid. So now this is an idea that I am suggesting. I myself follow that. 70% of my diet is fruits and vegetables. Is it easy? No. Does it get boring? Well, some people think it does, but I don't, because it has the good flavor, it fills you up, it gives you energy, it makes you feel good. Now, people will be motivated to make sacrifices and go on special diets when they're sick, but I'm suggesting that we do that when we're well so that we can stay well. We want to have a pattern of living that doesn't put us in a metabolic surplus or deficit. If we borrow money, if we use credit cards, we have to pay interest. If we eat properly, and what's properly? It's not what I say. You have to really figure out for yourself what agrees with you. We are not obsessing with this notion that banana, kumquat, and raisin diet is the thing. We need to see what's available, see what agrees with us, see what we like, see what we can afford. And instead of doing fast food continuously and depending on highly processed foods that we buy, we should do more of our own food preparation. Be realistic. And even if you do that a little bit and gradually have a nice salad every day, have several pieces of fruit, whole fruit to eat, cut up or eat it, raw, getting that can give a head start to your own metabolism. You're going to save metabolic energy that you have been wasting and you didn't know it. It also helps your digestion. Think of a 3-course meal with taste from all these flavors, think of it going into your stomach, and there's so many different things mixed together. How does your body sort it out? The truth of the matter is it doesn't. It doesn't. It's going to absorb what it can, and it's going to let the germs break down and digest the food that's not digestible or overcooked and not even usable. And what that means, you're going to have rotting food, garbage in your system constantly, making gas and absorbing toxins. And we're not aware of that because they're not identifying that in research. They don't want you to know that. We need some common sense to say, hey, when I eat several foods at a time and not just a mishmash of everything, I feel better. It's worth the effort. You can go to the produce market and get a week's supply of fruits and vegetables and use them up. A little bit in the salad, have fresh fruit as part of your breakfast, and feel better about yourself. When you eat fruits, you have liquids that's much better than a cup of tea or coffee or Postum or whatever it is. When you eat real food and digest it, that digestion improves and the bacteria living in the bowels change. You are stopping the supply of waste and garbage to those bad germs. You are not living with a constant sewer inside your body to just kind of pollute your whole system. We don't know where those headaches come from and the aches and pains. When you clean your intestines and have food that is clean, nourishing, and usable, you're going to send a signal to your body to start cleaning out. Okay. There is a scientific concept called osmosis. If you have a tank of water and you have a membrane on one side and you put water in both sides, and then you have a lot of salt put on one side of the membrane, eventually this high concentration is going to diffuse into the other side so that it averages out to be the same. The concentration goes from a high concentration to a low concentration, and everything moves around. Well, your body does that too. That's how it becomes isotonic. When you eat something and it's absorbed, it's going to go all throughout your body. And if it's not something that's nourishing, how does it affect you? Well, that's an individual thing. Some people will get a headache. Some people will get dizzy. Some people will get indigestion. Some people get aches and pains. Some people feel tired. Some people feel anxious. It depends. And we don't really know the biochemistry of all those little individual details because nobody's doing research. But you can do research and figure out, when I eat this pattern for a week, how does it differ from my usual diet? If you have your usual diet and then you switch to an isotonic diet for 3 days, what effects does it have? When you have waste in your body and you have an isotonic diet, your body's going to say, oh, thank you. And it's going to let that waste out. It's good. That concentration of waste is going to start flowing out. And your body might make a lot of urine, make a lot of bowel movements, clean out mucus, feel tired and sleep a lot. In other words, in a recuperative mode, because you allowed, instead of having another load of to absorb in your system, you could breathe easy. It was a day off. It was simple. Your body didn't have to work so hard. We're going to do okay. And that kind of experience is not always pleasant. When you've neglected your house or apartment for a while, and you see now all the things that are waiting, you're behind on your schedule, you're behind, and it's going to take hard work to clean the windows, vacuum, all this kind of stuff. And that's what happens with your body. And we do not want to have a pattern of living that builds up so waste that instead of voluntarily cleaning it out before it makes a mess, we wait so long that your body intervenes and suddenly it breaks down and you come down with a symptom of a disease. Your blood sugar goes how high. You have you're exhausted. You get a cold. You get pneumonia. You get a gastroenteritis. You have some intervention with germs and hormones that are going to override your laziness and really kind of clean up the mess that's no longer tolerated. That's because your body is trying to heal itself. Your body is if your body is out of balance and that homeopathic thing is at the expense of piles of waste in various nooks and crannies of the body, there will be a time when your body says, we can't take it anymore. And if we learn to eat in a way that is healthy, and we kind of feel the boundaries, and we know how much protein we know how much sugar we know how much fiber we need. When you have raw fruits and vegetables in a large amount, you have more frequent bowel movements. Your bowels are going to move several times a day sometimes, instead of once a day or once every 2 days, things like that. Things that we are calling normal may not be normal, not be ideal, because we have lived in a chronic imbalance for years and years and years. Now, you may not want to talk about it. You may say, oh, he's crazy, and it's all this ideal stuff that who cares? If I get sick, I'll go to the doctor and get a pill to make me feel better. Fine. If that's the way you feel, fine, that's fine. But I'm trying to awaken people to ideas that make sense, and I apply them in myself, but they can prevent so many illnesses if we can discover that and do the research and demonstrate to people that this helps us get back to our normal ideal metabolism and ideal weight. At this point, I will leave you with some questions. If you think about your day-to-day diet, based on what I've just said, how could you make an improvement? What would you do as the first step? I don't recommend guessing and suddenly making drastic changes. I want this to be sensible, doable, and so that you can experiment by, for instance, next time you go shopping, get a supply of apples or oranges or grapefruits or whatever, and start eating them every day, things that you haven't done before, and seeing what happens. And when your digestion gets used to it and your bowels adjust and we get some cleaning going on, then you can make incremental things instead of having smothering salad dressing and cream spinach and salty foods. We're going to cut back on that. We're going to go simple. We're going to have less complex meals and see what that happens. Okay. So at this point, we'll complete. Till next time, goodbye.